Will Byers has been at the center of Stranger Things since the very beginning. He was the first victim, the first one taken to the Upside Down, and the first to come back. But for 5 seasons, we've been asking, what powers does he actually have? How do they work? And why did he suddenly unlock Vecna-like abilities in Season 5 Volume 1 final episode? Today, we're breaking down Will's complete power set, from his psychic sensing abilities to that shocking moment where he used telekinesis just like 11 to destroy Demogorgons. This is the deep dive you've been waiting for. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button because we're covering everything from Stranger Things. Let's get into it. Chapter 1, The Origin, How Will Got His Powers. To understand Will's powers, we need to go back to November 6th, 1983. Will Byers is taken by the Demogorgon into the Upside Down. He spends an entire week in that hostile dimension, breathing toxic air, surrounded by monsters, with no food or water. By all logic, he should have died within hours. But Will survived. And that survival came at a price. During his time in the Upside Down, something fundamental changed in Will's biology and consciousness. The dimension marked him, tagged him, altered him on a molecular level. When Joyce and Hopper pulled him out of that nest with the tube down his throat, Will Byers wasn't entirely human anymore. He'd been touched by the Upside Down in a way that would never fully heal. Season 2 is where we first see the effects. Will starts having visions, seeing the Mind Flayer, feeling the presence of the Upside Down even when it's not visible to anyone else. At first, everyone thinks it's PTSD, but it's not flashbacks. Will is actually sensing real threats that are really there. He's developed what fans call true sight, the ability to perceive another dimension overlapping our own. Then the Mind Flayer possesses him. For days, this ancient entity lives inside Will's body, using him as a spy, accessing his memories, trying to turn him into a weapon. Even though they eventually exorcise the creature by literally burning it out of him, the connection doesn't completely break. That's the key. The Mind Flayer left something behind, a permanent psychic link, a doorway in Will's mind that connects him to the Upside Down, and through that doorway, Will gained abilities that would only grow stronger over time. Chapter 2, Will's Abilities. Let's break down what Will could do before Season 5 because understanding his base powers makes what happens in the finale even more shocking. Psychic Sensing. Will's primary ability is detecting the presence of Upside Down entities. When the Mind Flayer, Vecna, or any connected creature is nearby or active, Will feels it. His neck tingles, his body reacts. He's a living early warning system. Throughout Season 3, every time the Mind Flayer made a move, Will sensed it first. At the movies, in the woods, at Starcourt Mall. He knew when danger was coming before anyone else. Precognition. Will doesn't just sense that something's there, he can feel what it's planning. In Season 4, when he tells Mike he's not going to stop until he's taken everyone, that's not a guess. Will is reading the intentions and emotions of entities connected to the Upside Down. He's tapping into their thoughts and plans. Remote viewing. This one's subtle, but crucial. In Season 5, Volume 1, Will discovers he can see through the eyes of Vecna's targets and the creatures connected to the hive mind. When Vecna is planning to take Holly, Will suddenly sees through her eyes, experiencing what she's experiencing in real time. This isn't just sensing danger, this is literal shared vision. Even more disturbing, Will can see through the eyes of Demogorgons. He taps into their perspective, seeing what they see as they hunt through Hawkins. And through this connection, he discovers where Vecna is keeping Holly, connected to vines in the Upside Down, tubes attached to her body just like Will was in Season 1. The parallel is horrifying and intentional. Vecna is doing to Holly exactly what was done to Will, and Will can see it all happening through the hive mind connection. He's essentially hacked into Vecna's network, using his permanent link to the Upside Down to spy on the enemy's operations. All of these abilities made Will invaluable as a scout and intelligence gatherer. But they were all passive, defensive powers. He could sense and see, but he couldn't act. He couldn't fight. He was support class, not a warrior. Until the Season 5 finale changed everything. Chapter 3, The Finale, Will Gets Vecna's Powers. In the final episode of Season 5, we witnessed something absolutely unprecedented. Will, who has never shown any offensive psychic abilities, suddenly demonstrates powers identical to Vecna. He uses telekinesis to kill Demogorgons, lifting them into the air and crushing them with his mind. Let's break down exactly what happened and why this moment is so significant. The scene takes place in the Max Z, but here's what makes it even more intense. Will is completely alone. 11 is trapped in the Upside Down dealing with her own battle. She never encounters Vecna, never makes it to the final confrontation. The rest of the group is scattered, fighting for their lives in different parts of town. Will is the only one standing between the Demogorgons and complete destruction. The situation is desperate. Multiple Demogorgons are closing in on Will, and there's no one to help him. No 11 to save the day, no backup coming. It's just Will, alone, facing the monsters that have haunted him since he was 12 years old. His eyes don't bleed like 11's. He doesn't scream or strain. Instead, Will reaches out his hand toward the approaching Demogorgons, and there's this moment of absolute stillness. The creatures freeze mid-step, and then, with a slight movement of Will's fingers, the Demogorgons begin to rise off the ground. They're floating, suspended in the air, and you can see them struggling, trying to break free but unable to move. Will has no fear, no hesitation, and then he kills the Demogorgons. When Mike and the others finally reach him, they stare at Will in shock. The Demogorgon corpses are scattered around him. This revelation recontextualizes everything we thought we knew about Will's powers. He's had this ability all along. The telekinesis, the offensive psychic force, it was always there. He just chose not to use it. He chose to be the scout, the sensor, the support, because using these powers meant embracing his connection to the darkness in a way he wasn't willing to do. But why now? Why does Will finally unleash this hidden power in the finale? The answer is necessity and acceptance. Throughout the series, Will has been fighting against his connection to the Upside Down. He's seen it as a curse, as corruption, as something that makes him less human. But in the finale, facing death alone with no one to save him, he finally accepts that this connection is part of who he is. Not the bad part, not the corrupted part, just a part of him that can be used for good or evil depending on his choices. With 11 trapped in the Upside Down, unable to help, unable to be the hero like she's always been, Will realizes something profound. He has to be the hero now. There's no backup, no one else with powers, it's just him. And in that moment of absolute necessity, he stops resisting. He opens himself fully to the connection he's been suppressing for years. And when he does, all the power that's been dormant inside him finally activates. This makes Will's moment even more powerful than if 11 had been there. This isn't about Will stepping up as a sidekick or supporting the main hero. This is Will realizing he is the hero he has been all along, he just needed to accept it. Chapter 4. How Will got Vecna's powers. So how is this possible? How does Will have the same abilities as Vecna? The answer lies in their parallel experiences. Both Will and Henry Creel were taken into alternate dimensions at a young age. Henry went to Dimension X as a child and was touched by the Mind Flayer. Will went to the Upside Down and was possessed by the Mind Flayer. Both were marked, changed, given a permanent connection to that realm. The difference is that Henry embraced it. He was encouraged by Dr. Brenner to explore his powers, to hurt people, to see himself as superior. Henry became Vecna by choosing to fully merge with the darkness. Will resisted. He was supported by people who loved him, who helped him stay human, who never pushed him to be a weapon, so his powers remained dormant, suppressed by his own will and his desire to be normal. But the potential was always there. Will and Vecna are two sides of the same coin. They're both bridges between dimensions, both marked by the Mind Flayer, both capable of extraordinary psychic abilities. The only difference is choice. This also explains why Vecna targeted Will specifically in Season 1. It wasn't random. The Mind Flayer recognized something in Will, some potential, some quality that made him a suitable host and eventual vessel for power. When the Demogorgon took Will, it was following instructions. The Mind Flayer wanted Will specifically because it saw what he could become. And now, in Season 5, Will has become it. Not a villain like Vecna, but a hero with equivalent power. He's proof that the same abilities can be used for completely opposite purposes depending on the moral character of the person wielding them. Chapter 5, Will vs. 11, who's more powerful? Now that Will has demonstrated Vecna-level telekinesis, we have to ask, is Will more powerful than 11? The answer is complicated, but what happened in Season 5 gives us some major clues. While 11 was trapped in the Upside Down, unable to reach Vecna or help in the final battle, Will was the one who saved everyone. He was the one with the power to act when it mattered most. 11 has more experience using her powers. She's been trained since childhood. She knows her limits and how to push them. She's fought more battles and survived more psychic strain. But here's the thing. 11's powers were created in a lab through experimentation. They're artificial, forced into existence through trauma and drug-induced manipulation. Will's powers are natural. They're born from genuine exposure to another dimension, from a permanent connection to the source of all this supernatural energy. This makes Will's abilities potentially more versatile. more sustainable, and more intrinsically tied to the Upside Down itself. Think about it. 11 can run out of power. We've seen her exhaust herself multiple times, needing rest and recovery before she can use her abilities again. But Will's powers seem to draw directly from his connection to the Upside Down, which means as long as that realm exists, his power source exists. He doesn't drain the same way 11 does. The fact that Will was able to destroy multiple Demogorgons on his first try with no training and no prior experience using offensive abilities suggests that his raw power might actually exceed 11's. 11 had to practice, had to build up her strength over years. Will just did it. The power was there, fully formed, waiting to be used. However, we have to acknowledge that Will is less experienced. 11 has better control, better precision, better understanding of what she can and can't do. Will's display in the finale was powerful but instinctive, pure destructive force without much refinement. But here's what makes this comparison so interesting. Will and 11 were never meant to work against each other. They're meant to work together. 11 might be trapped in the Upside Down now, but when she returns, these two together will be an unstoppable force. 11's experience and control combined with Will's raw power and supernatural connection, that's how you defeat the Mind Flayer once and for all. Chapter 6, what this means for Will's future. Will unlocking these powers in the finale changes everything about his character and his future. He's no longer just a victim who survived. He's no longer just a support character who senses danger. He's a fully realized hero with the power to stand alongside 11 and fight on equal terms. But this comes with consequences. Using these powers means accepting his connection to the Upside Down. It means acknowledging that he's been fundamentally changed and can never go back to being normal. It means living with the knowledge that he has the same abilities as the villain who's terrorized Hawkins for years. Will is going to have to decide who he wants to be. Does he embrace these powers and become a guardian, someone who actively uses his abilities to protect people? Or does he try to suppress them again, going back to the passive role he's played for most of the series? My prediction is that Will chooses to be a hero, not because he wants power or glory, but because he's seen what happens when people with these abilities choose evil. He's going to be the proof that you can be touched by darkness and still choose light, that you can have terrifying power and still use it with compassion and restraint. Will Byers has always been the heart of Stranger Things. Now he's also one of its most powerful warriors, and that makes him the perfect symbol for what the show has always been about. Ordinary people who find extraordinary strength when the people they love are in danger. Conclusion. So there you have it. Will's powers fully explained. From psychic sensing to remote viewing to full Vecna level telekinesis. He's been building to this moment since he was first taken in season 1. And now he's finally become the hero he was always meant to be. What do you think? Were you shocked when Will killed those Demogorgons? Do you think he's more powerful than 11? What role will he play moving forward? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this breakdown, smash that like button and subscribe for more Stranger Things content. Hit the bell so you don't miss our next video. Thanks for watching, and remember, the people who've been hurt the most are often the ones with the power to save everyone. I'll see you next time.